Good evening, night owls, moon howlers, and, of course, the cryptid curious. Welcome to another thrilling edition of the Lewd Lycanthrope, your nightly howl in the wilderness of human chaos. I'm your host, Chuck Dewclaw, coming to you live from the shadowy heart of the dark woods, where the news is as wild as the creatures that lurk just beyond your campfire. Tonight's top story: newly sworn-in President Donald J. Trump's Day 1 executive order on child support. It's an issue howling with controversy, one that has set social media aflame and left a lot of legal experts scratching their heads harder than a werewolf with a flea problem. But is it the answer that so many have been looking for? Or is it just another bureaucratic way to tie up an already flailing family court system? So grab your favorite snacks and drinks, and let's settle in for this legal roller coaster ride, shall we? Let's get into it. So folks, I guess the best place to start would be a quick recap of what actually happened with this executive order for those of you that may have been out of the loop or just living under a rock for the last week or so. But on January 20th, 2025, Donald J. Trump was sworn in for his second term as President of the United States. While the inauguration itself was a spectacle of gold-plated podiums and flags as far as the eye could see, it was his first official act as president, signing an executive order targeting child support enforcement that sent shockwaves through both the political and legal landscapes. So what does this order entail? Well, let's take a closer look at the specifics and then we'll sink our claws into the broader implications. The order's official title was Strengthening Accountability for Child Support Obligations, and it outlined a 5-step approach in order how to do this. The first step was streamlined enforcement mechanisms, and that basically stated that states are now required to enhance digital tracking systems for delinquent payments, allowing for real-time monitoring of non-custodial parents and financial activities. The second step was passport restrictions. So non-custodial parents who owe more than $5,000 in child support will face immediate passport restrictions, limiting their ability to travel internationally until payments are brought up to date. The third step is the federal job garnishments. A new clause mandates automatic wage garnishment for any federal employee or contractor who falls behind on child support obligations, and there's no questions asked with that. The fourth one is tax refund redirection. Delinquent parents will see their tax refunds automatically redirected to child support accounts if needed. And the fifth and final step is public accountability. Perhaps the most controversial aspect of this. It's a database that publicly lists chronic offenders who owe more than $20,000 in unpaid child support. Critics have already dubbed it the deadbeat dad docket. And supporters claim these measures will ensure the parents meet their obligations to the children. But of course, the opponents are crying foul, calling it invasive, draconian, and an overreach of federal power. Which, in my opinion, folks, anybody on the left that's preaching an overreach of federal power, well, the irony is definitely lost on you, my friend, is all I can say. Alrighty, now that we've gotten through that, let's get into a little bit more of a breakdown. On the surface, this seems like a noble cause, ensuring children receive the financial support they're entitled to, but as with most things, the devil's in the details. A lot of critics are arguing that the order disproportionately targets low-income individuals who may already be struggling to make ends meet. And according to the National Child Support Enforcement Association, nearly 70% of child support debt is owed by parents earning less than $10,000 annually. So is this a policy really about helping children, or is it just another way to criminalize poverty? Then, of course, there's the public accountability program side of it. Sure, public shaming works great for werewolves who miss a pack hunt, but when you're dealing with humans, the stakes are slightly different. Privacy advocates are raising red flags, warning that this database could lead to harassment, job loss, or, God forbid, even violence against listed individuals. And let's not forget the political angle. With this move, Trump is clearly trying to appeal to his base of family values voters while also doubling down on his tough-on-crime persona. But will it backfire? After all, alienating a large swath of struggling Americans might not be the wisest strategy heading into a contentious second term. Oh, and let's talk about the enforcement side of it as well. These new tracking systems and passport restrictions sound great on paper, but implementing them is going to be a logistical nightmare. States are already underfunded when it comes to child support enforcement, and this executive order doesn't allocate any additional funds for them. It's kind of like expecting a werewolf to hunt with a broken paw. Is it possible? Sure. Is it going to be messy? More than likely. So I guess the question a lot of you are asking right now is, Chuck, this kind of sounds like you're on the left side of this. Well, no, not actually. I am more on the right side of this. What I wanted to do was to read these articles, which were written by a lot of left-leaning news people, and I wanted to hear what their opinion was, recite it to all of you, and then get a perspective on what you actually think is the case and how it affects the family courts, children, and everybody involved. But if you really want to know how I feel on it, it would be this. I think Trump's child support reform order is a crucial step towards restoring fairness in the family court system. It will ensure that non-custodial parents, and those are often fathers, are not financially crippled by outdated and excessive support obligations, which, by the way, was never hardly mentioned in the articles that I read to you before. They want to focus on the negative aspects of everything instead of the positive. And one of the biggest positive sides of this reform was Trump's financial reform of the law, meaning that fathers' financial responsibility is going to be more closely tied to what their overall income is than some swinging gate of a chart, depending on where you live and what kind of a job, did you go to college, and all of these things. Are you paying medical support for these children, medical insurance? It's going to make it a little bit more streamlined to determine what that parent, and it's not always the father, it can be the mother as well, but what that parent actually owes. And I think this reform prioritizes economic reality over government overreach. It prevents parents from being trapped in a cycle of debt while still ensuring children receive the support they need. And by correcting the long-standing injustices of the biased system, and trust me, that system couldn't be much more biased, Trump is once again standing up for hard-working Americans and promoting policies that strengthen families rather than penalize them. Now, you can agree with me on that, and that's great, and you can disagree with me on that, and that's also great. Either way, I'd like to know what you think about this. Do you think it's a good move? Or do you think it's just Trump out there blowing steam like he normally does? Why don't you jump on those comments and let us know how you really feel. So where does that leave us, my furry friends? For some, this executive order represents long overdue reform that will finally hold deadbeat parents accountable. For others, it's yet another example of the government overstepping its bounds and punishing the most vulnerable. Here in the dark woods, we know a thing or two about balancing the wild and the structured, the free and the fair. Maybe the humans could learn a thing or two from us. Well, as always, I'll leave you with a how-worthy thought. When the moon rises high and casts its light on the shadows, truth isn't always what it seems. Stay sharp, stay curious, and for Luna's sake, pay your child support. This is Chuck Dewclaw, signing off. Until next time, my nocturnal friends, stay wild, stay furry, and always keep one eye on the darkness.